Hello everyone, thanks for having me here today. I really appreciate you coming out to lunch to listen to me talk. I've thought a little bit about how I was going to talk about the future, and I didn't want to talk about something that was too far off, somewhere off in the distance, and I think we all kind of get lost a little bit by that. But I brought some objects that would help kind of illustrate some of the things that I wanted to get across to you. And these objects are here now. They're not incredibly high tech, but they do relate to very specific kinds of futuristic things. And I think what's interesting about the topic of futurism and disruption and society and all these things is that everything builds on the platform of where we're at now. And that's interesting in itself, because where things are at now gives us a glimpse of where they can go to in the future. And so whatever technology is developing will continue to develop and will go through a series of iterations. And it's very clear, if we let that technology go through the cycle of advancement, is that going to a place that we want it to go for our children and our children's future? I think that's one of the most important questions in my mind. And for that reason, I brought a couple of pictures of my children. So this is Austin, and he's 7. He's at Fairfield School, and Austin's very much into puzzles and can solve very good spatial problems. So he's already showing a little bit of a sign of potentially his future. He wins cross countries and loves his football. This is Thea. Thea went to her first school visit yesterday at Fairfield School. Thea, like her mum, is incredibly talented verbally and listens, and is incredibly social, and so she's already showing signs. Oh, plus her dad's creativity, of course. Okay. So I'm going to try and relate back some of these technologies to the future of these children, my children, as we work through to kind of ground us as we talk about topics that are quite futuristic. So the topics I'm going to touch on, I'm only going to touch on them briefly, are artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, cryptocurrency, and if we have time, the internet and virtual reality. And so those are the topics I'm going to talk about. I think I'd like to start with artificial intelligence and robotics. So we have a general intelligence, so general artificial intelligence, and we have very narrow intelligence when it comes to artificial intelligence. And what that means is Siri, or the app that enables you to find your way in GPS, and these sorts of intelligence, that's narrow intelligence. So that's an algorithm, a process, a program in your computer or on a computer somewhere that's working something out for you, a very specific task. And general artificial intelligence is something which is much more general and more human-like, and perhaps could be described as being something related to consciousness. So that general intelligence is over here, this narrow intelligence is over here, and there's a lot of this going on. So there's a lot of this kind of weak intelligence or specific intelligence, algorithms for very specific purposes going on. We're very, very far away from this general intelligence stage. So I've got a device to show you, because I thought it'd be excellent to have a device doing something while I'm here. So we'll grab that. Has anyone seen one of these? I'm sure some people have seen. Yep. So we'll just see what it does, just to see how trustworthy these robots are. So this is a robot vacuum cleaner. So it would have a basic level of intelligence to be able to move around, figure out the scale of the room and where it is in the room, and basically create a map of the room. And while it's doing that, of course, it's vacuuming the floor, which is really fun. Hey, bumping my microphone. That's really, really, really interesting. So this is, I guess, an example of very specific narrow intelligence. So these are, of course, available now, and the iteration that this version is at is not Wi-Fi enabled. So, of course, the next version is Wi-Fi enabled, which means I could turn it on from work if I wanted to, and it would clean my house while I'm away. I could also see exactly where it was in the house, so I could see if it was sneaking into somewhere where perhaps it wasn't allowed to. Wi-Fi enabled vacuum cleaners, well, could perhaps somebody else control that device in your home? Perhaps it's got a camera on it. Could they then, navigate around your house and see what's in your house? Potentially. So we have these kind of issues pop up when you start to add these upgrades to these technologies. A really strange thing for me about artificial intelligence and robotics and things is humans seem to be becoming more robotic and seem to be attracted to becoming more digital, while robots seem to be becoming more human. So we're trying to create robots that are more human-like, and we're trying to become more robotic ourselves, which is a real strange thing for me. And we get obsessed and addicted to looking at a screen and little devices in our pockets. We want to spend a huge amount of time on social media rather than talking to people face to face. We want to be like artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence or the robots, they don't want to be, but we're making them in our form. So we're making them in our image. We're making them more human. And so as time goes on, what we'll probably see is robots who become more and more human and do more and more human tasks. And then the issue arises of, well, will they take our jobs? Autonomous trucks, autonomous taxis, autonomous cars are here now. Will decision makers as CEOs of companies decide to replace human drivers with robotic drivers or autonomous vehicles to save money or to create efficiencies, or was it? Probably. So if you were in those sorts of roles, you're probably going to be the first to be replaced by robots. Algorithms are really good at replacing repetitive tasks. So if you have a repetitive job in your business, then there's some potential that could be replaced by an algorithm at some point, by artificial intelligence. Perhaps as an accountant or a lawyer or something like that. Some of those roles are already being replaced in terms of the repetitive tasks. So, will our jobs be replaced by robots? Yes, quite a few of them will be eventually. Will artificial intelligence take over the world? Possibly, because there's this issue of recursive self-improvement. What that means is, once you have a certain level of intelligence and ability to improve yourself, then artificial intelligence is not constrained by the constraints that we have as humans, and so it could effectively recode itself and improve itself and become super intelligent, which is pretty crazy. So that's my little chat on artificial intelligence. Does anyone have any questions at this point before I move on to electric vehicles? No, maybe afterwards. I think the question that keeps popping up, people keep asking me is, will my children drive a car? So will they be autonomous by the time they get to drive? And I think the answer to that is they will get to drive a car, because I think there's 0.2% of electric vehicles on the road at the moment, so of our overall fleet, so it's a very small amount. Full autonomous driving is illegal in New Zealand, so you're not allowed to drive your Tesla hands off, Dean Hall or anyone that you are. And we're still producing vehicles which are driving vehicles, so effectively those vehicles are going to be on the road for a very long time. So Austin will drive a car, please. And will his children? Will his children drive a car? Maybe not. So the prediction, I think, is by the year 2040, 1/3 of all vehicles on the road will be electric vehicles. And so we would assume by then that they would also be autonomous, so they'd be driving themselves. But that means that 2/3 would still be petrol vehicles. And I'm assuming if they're petrol vehicles, that they would be drivable vehicles.
What regions do you consider?
Sorry?
What regions do you consider?
Yeah, good question. I think predominantly New Zealand's quite far behind, and places like Norway are way ahead. And so Norway offers incentives and other things, and so it's quite reasonable for people to buy those vehicles. New Zealand relies a lot on an import market, and there's just not the second-hand market for electric vehicles yet, so we're not effectively buying second-hand electric vehicles.
Would people actually own an electric vehicle rather than it just being a sharing situation?
Yeah, so this is another big topic that's coming out, and it's a very valid question. So I think that there's quite a few issues here, like socially and also economically. It makes a lot of sense if they're just going to turn up, why own it? I think people will opt into sharing organisations as groups, and they may not own it for sure. And especially at the moment, like to buy a Leaf or something, it's 20, 30k. A Tesla's 130, 40. It's pretty still a wee bit unrealistic for most people. So sharing is a really valid option, especially if they can just turn up. So the next topic is virtual reality and augmented reality. So this is a virtual reality headset. Has anyone had one of these on or something similar? Oh, is that? Did you enjoy it? It was amazing. Yeah, really? Yeah.
I got to stroke a dinosaur.
Yeah. So until you actually experience it, it's just kind of a little bit of an unknown, but it can be a real kind of wow moment. I know the technology for me is at that point. It's at that wow kind of moment where it is immersive. You feel as though you're in that particular place. Your mind gets a little bit confused about that, and suddenly you're stroking a dinosaur or a lion or something. And that's pretty amazing. And so the content is either created in a kind of a animated environment, or it's actually real. So it's real because we can use a 3D camera like this, which has two lenses and films all around itself. And so that's how you could create the 3D environment to immerse yourself in the VR headset, which is pretty cool. So this technology is going to improve. I guess for me, the issue for me is that if you are of wealth, as the inequality kind of continues to become a problem, you will choose to live in the real world, I think, and you will advance your body and health because you can pay for it. Technologies are coming and will allow you to live for a much longer time, enhance your eyesight, your hearing, your memory, all sorts of stuff. If you are not of means, you quite possibly may end up living in a virtual reality environment for a good part of the day. Because in the VR environment, you suddenly are able to perform various tasks and be in various places and live this other kind of pseudo life. And also kind of fake how good your life is really, I think. So I think that's the risk. It becomes so realistic that you can end up just being in that sort of place all the time. That's the risk. And there's a movie about that right now. It's out just come out. Ready Player One or whatever it's called. So yeah, quite interesting topic. So this little device here is a digital wallet. So this would be the equivalent of about $8,000 US sitting on this right now. So if you took it, that's what you'd have. Unfortunately, you need a key to get into it. I'm not going to give it to you. This could be the future of money. And so cryptocurrency is a new form of money, I suppose. And it's the technology behind it is, you can think of it like a distributed ledger. So it's decentralized, so there's no bank or anything that gives money a qualified sense of worth or keeps track of it. The ledger does, and everyone holds, well, not everyone, but a lot of people hold a record of that ledger in a blockchain. And so this enables me to to access the ledger and to buy and sell based on that technology. So very disruptive to the financial industry. I think they're trying to figure out what to do with it. There's been a lot of gameplay by the establishment, especially in the US. And I remember one of the big CEOs of one of the big Wall Street companies on the internet trashing cryptocurrency and saying it's worthless, it's going to be worth nothing. The price of Bitcoin dropped incredibly low. The next day his firm bought millions and millions of dollars worth of it, and he made billions. So there's a lot of gameplay about this technology at the moment.
What can you buy right now using it in New Zealand?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of adoption in New Zealand, especially amongst just retail or anything like that. So you can't buy hardly anything with it. Overseas, websites like WordPress and Amazon and others are starting to use the technology. MasterCard have just released, they're saying that they've invented a technology which enables you to use your MasterCard and access your wallet. So they're the first to kind of talk about that now, crossover point, which is quite exciting. Yeah, good question.
Is the currency on what you call your wallet the same as Bitcoin's type of currency?
Very much so. Yeah, good question. Yeah. So there's lots of different kinds of coins, and there's Bitcoin is the most notable. Yeah.
Because that's transferable using Wi-Fi.
Yes. Yep. So you need an internet connection, correct?
I mean, you've got to have some kind of currency, don't you?
Agreed. And so I suspect what will happen is it'll just become more and more mainstream over time, and eventually, people will choose to use it. Potentially, it could be regulated against, but it'll just go black market then. So it'll still be relevant. In Australia, they have vending machines. You can go and get your Bitcoin from the machine, just like we have cash machines here. So they're a wee bit more developed than we are.
Are you sure that your currency worth 8K?
Sorry, say that again.
What is the amount of currency you have right now?
I think it's about 8,000 US.
Yeah, not sure.
Well,
What if
it fluctuates.
What if it's right now 6K? 6,000.
Yes, this is the problem. Yeah, this is the big problem. Yeah. So the fluctuation, the instability of the currency is a big issue. Yeah, and which means it's very unusable from consumer perspective. So what is the price of a Big Mac? Here in another country, same thing. Currency is a problem because one Bitcoin is like $7,000 or something, right? So if you want to buy a Big Mac, you have to use like 0.0004 of a Bitcoin or something, and that's just not very easy to work with from a consumer perspective. So there's a lot of challenges to overcome before this actually gets in, and then you have to ask yourselves then, should we invest in cryptocurrency now? Well, you would be speculating on the future of that overall market. There are a lot of big companies investing in this technology, so you have to make up your own mind, but there is a future in cryptocurrency for sure.
Yeah,
Is it listed on the stock exchange, or how does it work as far as the fluctuations go then? Because that's the same as a normal investment.
Yep, so some of these, I think some of these big trading businesses and that sort of thing are setting up the equivalent technology in the blockchain space. So they're trying to now take kind of more ownership of that kind of intermediary technology, but no, not a stock exchange. No. It's separate and it's decentralized. It's not controlled by the existing establishment, which scares people.
Yeah, so we had a list come through a week the other day, and there was 50 different cryptocurrencies companies on it, and that wouldn't be the whole lot. That was just the ones we have to register.
Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation in terms of blockchain technology companies as well. So it's very fancy at the moment to have blockchain in your title and suddenly be worth a lot more money as a company. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the internet. I didn't talk about drones. I brought this drone along. Will they be in this? Will they be up in the sky delivering packages and stuff? Quite possibly. At the moment, they make a lot of noise. You wouldn't want them flying over houses and stuff. So I think if they are going to do that, they'll be on your existing road networks, above the road networks. They can't avoid collisions, so they would just crash into each other at the moment as well. So you just, drones falling from the sky everywhere, it's not going to work. Plus the noise factor, imagine that one makes a hell of a noise, imagine, it's awful. So there's a lot of problems to solve with that. What I think is really interesting though is this rotor technology is now being just moved into all other vehicles, and so you're getting the concept of taxis and other things with huge rotors, and that enables kind of lift in a spot rather than takeoff and things. And so, companies are investing in this kind of technology for that reason. Amazon obviously likes the idea that it's going to deliver packages to you rather than the postal service. So it'll invest in that technology as well, and it'll keep improving, I think. So I think we'll see it, but there's quite a lot of problems to overcome yet. Finally, I was just going to talk a little bit about the internet. And for my job, I do a lot with the internet. When I started university, we didn't have email. It came in the second year of university, and this was my first phone. It was a Philips Savvy. You can see it had a screen. It's very modern at the time. It got smaller, my next phone. I was very pleased. Look how small this is in my hand. It's great. It'll fit in your pocket. It's wonderful. Almost wish I could have this back. Yeah, well done. I had a little screen, but it was slightly bigger. I think you could start to text with a stage, which is exciting.
Didn't you ever own a brick?
No.
I did.
Did you? And then you saw little mini computers like this, like Pocket PC, where you could keep your friends' details in, which is exciting. Now I have a phone here recording what I'm talking about on a mechanical gimbal, so the phone's talking to the gimbal, and what that means is, in theory, if I moved around, it would follow me, but it's lost me, I think, in terms of the tracking. But that was the theory anyway. There's my phone. It's a full screen. It's an iPhone X. So the screen just got bigger, right? The phone didn't get any smaller. It actually got bigger. It got smarter. Where are we going with all this stuff? Well, the theory is that it's going to disappear. So we won't have a phone, and we won't have a screen. Excuse me, it's cold. Because all we're doing with the phone is hearing, talking. Or with screens, we're just looking. So all we need to be able to do is project a screen onto something, or project it up in the air, or something like that. We don't need that screen anymore. And the talking and the hearing and things, we don't need the device for that. We can have another little device that sits in here and just transfers it up to our ear or whatever, So it'll go. We won't have it.